All right, in the past couple of days, Worldcoin has pumped. The question is, why has it pumped? Well, because Eightco Holdings has invested 250 million in a private placement, and also an additional 20 million in strategic investment from Bitmine. Okay, so let's break this down. So essentially, Eightco Holding was a holding company that was already on the NASDAQ exchange. And what they have done, let's show you right here, is they've essentially bought a giant chunk of Worldcoin, and their plan is to create a strategic Worldcoin reserve. Like, think about strategy with Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin for strategy, and then people buy strategy to get exposure to Bitcoin. Okay, so the same thing applies to this company, and they're going to rebrand as Orbs. The other thing I want to very quickly mention here is Bitmine. This is, I forgot his name. Let me pause and think. All right, there we go. I found it. Tom Lee. Okay, so Tom Lee is the CEO or founder or whatever of Bitmine. And Bitmine is essentially right now one of the largest holders of Ethereum. They actually may be the largest holder of Ethereum. Let me also pause one more second just to check that. Yes, I was right. Here we go. Bitmine Immersion Technologies is recognized as the biggest holder of ETH and is publicly traded. All right, so the reason why I'm saying all this about Tom Lee and Bitmine is because they are a side investor into this new Treasury company. And not just them, you can see is also other big groups like Kraken is huge, Pantera is huge. So I'm sure these guys are huge too, I just don't know their names. Anyways, this is a big deal. And in this video, what I wanted to do was kind of break down what is Worldcoin? What is this thing? And by the way, this guy here, this guy here, I already forgot his name. Where is it? Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. I'm looking for his name right here. Dan Ives. All right, so Dan Ives is a famous tech investor. This is Dan Ives here. He's looking into the Worldcoin orb. And in this video, I'm going to very quickly break down what is Worldcoin. I'm going to try to do it as fast as possible because there's a lot to cover. But this is what the orb is. And what it's doing right now is there's this kind of aperture here. And you put your eye into that aperture and it scans your eyeball. So let's get going. Here is a picture of your iris. An iris is the colored part of your eyeball. And the reason why the iris is important is because for every human, it is unique. Just like every snowflake is a unique structure, every human's iris is also a unique shape. And what this orb does, this thing here, is it takes a very detailed picture of your iris, and then it converts it into code. Okay, so first thing to note, the thing that it's actually storing is not the picture of your eyeball, it's a code representation of this. Okay? There's more information here, but I'm going to try to make this video faster. So this is giving you the gist of what the orb is taking a picture of. So like it says here, the orb does many things. It's not just taking a photo, but first it actually needs to check if you're a living person, right? Because what if you put a dead person's face in front of the orb, and then you can make a new wallet for that dead person? Well, it checks that you're not dead, which is pretty good. Another important thing that I think is really, really important to understand about this orb is that it's all happening inside of that orb. None of this data is, well, I'll talk about it later, but none of the data is really leaving this system. It takes that photo, it converts that information all within the side of this hardware device. Okay, so first thing you need to understand about Worldcoin is that it has two kind of areas. One is the blockchain implementation stuff, and the other one is the hardware implementation stuff. And these go together, and they're both cutting-edge, amazing tech that I love personally. Another thing important to note is that, like it says, no images ever leave the device. The only thing that's leaving the device is this code here. And that brings me on to the next point. The way this code leaves the device is not one big chunk, okay? Because that would be a security risk, right? If you take a photo of the iris and then it converts it to code, and then that sends that to the blockchain, well, everyone now has like the code of my iris. But what really happens is this code is cut up into two chunks. I think there's a picture here, right? The code of your eyeball is cut up into chunks. And each of these chunks is sent to verified establishments. These are mostly universities, like I think it's called KAIST in Korea is one of the main ones. Universities around the world take chunks of this information, and then they are able to run this information through algorithms to verify that your eyeball has not been scanned before. Okay, and just very quickly, this is a new update for Worldcoin. It's called Secure Multi-Party Computation. Not only, so this is shortened to usually MPC, so this whole thing would be called SMPC. Multi-party computation is what I just said, right? Where you send a chunk of information to a bunch of people or a bunch of organizations, and they do an analytics or analysis on that information. But secure multi-party computation means that not only can they analyze that, but they can run more complex algorithms on the entire thing, right? So instead of it's hard to explain. If you're interested in secure multi-party computation, I would recommend looking into it. Essentially, many groups around the world can do a calculation on one piece of information, and all of them don't have access to the entire thing. Let's see what else here. Oh, another thing that's important is that it's the amount of information you give them is up to you, okay? So like it says here, do you need my name, email address, phone number, and all that kind of stuff to use WorldCoin? No, you don't. You kind of choose what you want to give. And the bare minimum is actually you download the app and then you have a wallet. But if you truly want to be integrated into the system, then you need to use this device to take that iris scan and convert that into code. Okay, now I get to talk about the fun stuff. This, well, let's show you this one, right? So this is the full picture here, okay? This is how the actual, the hardware stacks up together, okay? You can see there's many, many layers here, and what I'm gonna do is very quickly go through each of these things because there's a lot of important stuff in this image. First is this lens. This is a custom-made lens. It's very, very high-tech. You can see that it's better than most of the industry standard cameras. And again, going back to what it's actually doing right here is taking a picture of your iris and then converting that into code. So the higher detail that image is, the more accurate this code is going to be. And that's what this is showing here. You can see all these different little lines and kind of shapes in your iris. Well, that gets converted to a chunk of code, okay? And that becomes your then wallet ID. And that's what this lens is doing. Under that, so it's not just taking the image of your eyeball. Like I said, there's other things it's scanning. So like, how can it know if you're alive or dead just from that image? Well, probably something like a thermal imager, right? Like if you're dead, then you're not going to be warm. So it has a bunch of different sensors, not just the camera, but it has a wide-angle camera, a thermal imager. It has the 3D time of flight camera. Has a wide-angle camera visible spectrum, right? So these two different types of wide-angle cameras taking two different spectrums. There's different lighting profiles here, and all of this is going to all go together into your data set, right? So all go together into this kind of code. So that's the next layer. The other thing I wanted to mention here about this layer, this is the kind of the motherboard type layer, is it does have other things like a GPS module. It has the liquid lens connector, which the liquid lens is essentially, it's an oil lens which can adjust because maybe your eyeball is bigger, smaller, farther away, closer. And so in order to make the process smoother, they have a liquid lens. So this is a very complicated piece of tech, very, very cool. The other thing that's really important to note about this is that this is all open source. And I'm going to go into the privacy discussions at the end of this video, but this part is coming up now because I want to show you this really cool 3D thing here. But before I do that, I just want to say all of this is open source. And the purpose of this is so that anyone can build this. Technically, anyone could build this, but it's really hard to build. So right now, there's only one manufacturer. The manufacturer is in Germany in a town, I forgot the name, but they're like a historic town for making optical lenses. So pretty cool. And then this thing, which I really want to show you guys, is pretty cool. So this is a file I downloaded from here. You can see here, download, it gives you the script, and you can essentially just put this into your web browser, or the URL here, and it'll download this file. And then I used software called Autodesk Viewer, which allows you to view CAD files online. And this is what it looks like, okay? Kind of boring, but get ready for this. See this button explode? I love it. 3, 2, 1, explode! And essentially what that is showing is all those things I just showed to you, right? And it's showing a 3D rendering of that. Right? So here's that kind of motherboard thing I was talking about. And so technically, anyone could manufacture these, which is really important because it gets me into my final part, right? This is kind of like, there's a lot of people that shit all over WorldCoin saying it's like Sam Altman trying to take over the world and whatever, okay? Maybe Sam Altman is an investor in WorldCoin. But what's most important to understand about WorldCoin is that everything they do is open source. Everything they do is pushing towards decentralization. Yes, there are risks involved in doing biometric scanning and associating that with an identification, okay? And I'll talk about that even more here when we talk about China. But important to note that WorldCoin is trying their best to do this fully trustless, permissionless, auditable, right? So for example, all of the code, the smart contracts, the software, all of the hardware, it's all audited by third parties, right? So they're trying their best to be as credibly neutral as possible. And the reasoning is because if it's not, then it will not take off, right? For example, one of the reasons why Ethereum has actually succeeded is because it's a truly decentralized organization, right? It is a global organization with bases all around the world, and everyone has a shared voice, right? And that's what they want to accomplish with WorldCoin and World ID and tools for humanity. So very, very important to note. There are security risks, yes, but and this brings me to my next point. Of all the companies out there doing it, I like this company, right? I do not want China to be the creator of this system. Imagine if WorldCoin was owned by the Chinese government. I love China. I lived in China for a couple years, and I do love the country. But it would be scary if this was created by them, right? So this is actually, I think the China social credit system is probably not, it's not as popular as it was in the past in China, but it was popular for a while. This is kind of 2020s, 2021s during COVID time. They essentially used facial recognition to scan their entire population and give each person a score. And that score is then used to monitor and control the behavior of the citizens, right? So that's terrifying. I don't want that. I would rather WorldCoin do it, and I can own a chunk of it and have my own voice. Okay. Again, I'm not anti-China. I do want to note that China has had some positive regulation in this front, right? So to regulate the application of facial recognition technology. Okay, so very important that China is actually improving in this front. But as this article here points out, right, the discrete rise of facial recognition around the world, right? So I'm an American. When I go to America now, it scans my face everywhere I go. And I didn't really agree to that. Now it's a mandatory part of me getting into America. So this technology is already here. It's already being used by governments, which kind of brings me to my final point. It's like, if this is already here and it's already on the rise, don't you want it to be completely open sourced? Don't you want this to be on the blockchain and use multi-party? Like, remember, think about all the things I just said, right? None of these images leave the device. You have the ability to choose what information you give. It uses secure multi-party computation. All of this is really good for us. So if we have the choice between WorldCoin, where we can own the system and have it be transparent and fair, or we have governments forcing it upon us, which one do you choose, right? So anyways, going back to the spicy news, right? The coin value or price is going up. Whoa, this is not working for some reason. The coin value is going up due to this kind of huge buy. Some people are scared of WorldCoin, but I'm personally very, very bullish because of this pump. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.